right, Discord time, got a question here from Cody Pool, 86, and it's Trent Alexander-Arnold based, obviously. It's a bit of a long one, but I'll go through it anyway. Should we accelerate Trent's midfield participation by looking at right-back options? I accept it will take time to get him being the best he can be in midfield, but I really think he can do that right side of the job to a top level now. So here's the question, Neil. Is it not more likely that you can buy a better right-back than Trent than buy a better midfielder than Trent? So obviously, Alexander-Arnold, for context, played for England the other day in midfield, albeit against weaker opposition in Malta, but absolutely ran the game, scores, assists, looked like $1 million, wins man of the match. Jamie Carragher said it to us a few weeks ago, and he kindly retweeted the tweet for us. Nice one, Jamie, for the social impact there. He said, why aren't Liverpool just putting them there? Liverpool are in the market for all these midfielders. They might just have one. Are they going to sign someone who's better in midfield than Trent Alexander-Arnold? And if not, would it not be easier to go and find a right back? It's a great question. It's a massive question here, because the system at the moment, he's doing, basically he asked him to leg it back to right back all the time. Well, can you just stop him having to do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is a I don't know. We don't want Liverpool's plans are for Trent and what the system's going to be going for. But if you put it in basic, keep that basic, it does make sense.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think there's a lot of facets to it. So I'll start with that. What you've just said there there was moments last season in that last few games where I was screaming internally. I don't do it. I'm professional when I'm in the press box, but I was screaming internally, put a right back on when Liverpool were ahead in games. So Nottingham Forest, I think, was one, and Tottenham, where it was like, well, okay, it's worked. Now put a right back on and just cruise through the game. But Liverpool continued playing that sort of risk and reward thing and almost paid the price in both those games. We haven't seen it yet, have we, with Trent, with a right back or with a midfielder who just, that's why we spoke about Caicedo in the past, haven't we, about I would have thought I'd have thrown all the money in the world at Caicedo personally for that reason, or almost, sort of used to just do it both. One's always there, one's always there. Don't care who, almost. Yeah. So the next one is what you said, albeit against weaker opposition. I don't buy that sort of critique almost of it, the people, because if that's all we learned from Friday, that Trent can dominate midfield against Malta, that's sound, because Liverpool play a few Maltas. There'll be a few Maltas next season in the Europa League. There'll be a few Maltas in the early rounds. There'll be a few home games at Anfield where you're playing against, there'll be better teams, obviously, but the same type of game. So if he's proven that he can do it, then that's good, isn't it? Even if you only need him for 7 or 8 games, the odd whatever. It's a boost, isn't it? And the other thing that's really come out of it is, it looks to me and it sounds to me from what he says that he wants to play there.
I was going to say,
I think he wants to play in midfield now.
Smile on his face.
Yeah, there was a bit where he said, didn't he? I think he said after the game to Channel 4, it feels natural. I think that's how he put it. It feels natural, and that I'm not saying he's sort of making political sort of statements here, but I do think there's a message, and he said it to me, actually. I met him at a Red Bull event not so long ago, and he sort of said similar. He said, it feels like just back to my academy days of, like, I remember this, and I know what to do. It's not a case of like, oh, wow, I'm having to sort of, really adapt to this. I think he wants to play there. And I wonder whether if that was to be expressed to the manager, what's the reaction to that? Does the manager say, you don't decide where you play, or does he actually go, okay, like, we actually think you can do it. So what does that do? I think, so the simple question from Cody, is it more likely we get a better right back than Trent than a better midfielder than Trent? I think they're both very difficult to do. I still think it's harder to find. If Liverpool are going to play at the way Liverpool have played for the last 4 years prior to this, or ignoring the last 10 games of this, I still think it's harder to get a better right back than Trent. But right now, if Liverpool were to play the way that they've played at the back end of the season, I think it's probably at least in the balance, and maybe even leaning towards buying a right back would be easier. But then again, who? So who are you looking? Who's your right back? Then you're not getting Reece James, are you? You're not getting Kieran Trippier. Who's your sort of right back that you're looking at the moment, going, that's the obvious solution, isn't it? It might be a centre back, right back. It might be a sort of an Akanji, John Stones sort of situation where you just get someone to fill in there. But I do think this debate. I think here's the way I put it. I think the first time Jurgen faces the press in pre-season, I think that's going to be one of the first questions he gets asked is, what's happening with Trent?
I suppose my thing on the number 8 thing is right, that Liverpool number 8 actually don't have the ball that much.
Henderson
Jones isn't on the ball that much. His job is to get it and give it.
And Henderson's does a lot of decoy running when he plays in that right side.
I think if Alexander-Arnold was going to be in midfield, it would almost have to be like a bit deeper. You want him on the ball as much as you want. I think that's why the role that he was in at the end of last season kind of worked, was because he was always the spare man.
Yeah.
I don't think you want Alexander-Arnold with his back to goal. Like, how many times does Keir to get and his back's to goal?
Yeah.
That's what you
definitely. I don't think you'd play him in that upper, the two at the top of the box, if you want to call it that, in that midfield. You're right. I think he needs space, and he probably needs the game in front of him. Because what's his best asset? It's his passing range, isn't it? So his passing range is useless if he's receiving the ball between the lines.
Flip side is for England. Get him near the goal and he can score.
Yeah, and for Liverpool, we've seen him do it. I mean, I think was it Carragher said it? Did he say he could get 10 goals and 10 assists from midfield? I completely agree with him. I mean, he's not far off from right back, is he? I mean, he always gets the assists. He chips in with plenty of goals. I think the one I was looking at on Friday was like, right, the next free kick that gets put down and James Maddison and Trippier were over it. Give it to Trent. Come on, like let's have him taking those free kicks. But he's doing it from open play as well, isn't he? We saw the goal was very similar, wasn't it? Was it Bournemouth last year? He scored, didn't he, at Anfield? I think you're right. There's still some bits to figure out in terms of how would you put Trent in midfield if you were to start him in there. Maybe the fact that he drifts in there it's not maybe. It is by design. Liverpool prefer that because they feel like he's harder to pick up from that area as opposed to being stood in there waiting for the ball to come in to his feet. But I really do think we've seen, just from his point of view, I think we've just seen a little switch go off where it's like, I fancy this. I really fancy this. And I think he does feel like there's a long-term possibility of him being in it, playing there for England. It's only gonna help his cause, isn't it? I mean, we don't know. I don't even know who they play tonight. They play someone tonight, don't they? If he's in there again in a tougher fixture, then that'll and shines. That asks another question, doesn't it? And adds a bit more fuel to the fire. So there's a lot to ponder around Trent. I haven't heard from Liverpool's side, that's the other thing to say, is I haven't heard from Liverpool's side that we are suddenly looking at right backs, but they let Calvin Ramsey go on loan last week, which I think was a good move for everyone. He's basically a year behind almost in his progress, isn't he, because of injury. You've got Conor Bradley there. I wouldn't be amazed if he goes on loan, but I think he'll get a chance in pre-season maybe to show what he's about. James Milner's left, the backup right back really from last season. Obviously Gomez is still there. There is, potentially a shortfall, even if Trent's the right back, isn't there? There's still probably a little bit of a question mark around that. So we'll see if some right back names start emerging, but I haven't heard it yet from Liverpool's point of view.
No, I'm saying, and trying to gauge Liverpool, I always think it's quite easy. I know this might sound mad, but like in terms of like what Liverpool are looking for from transfers in a window, you go into it going, I think they're going to want a midfielder striker.
Yeah.
And I think because we don't know what they're going to do next year. Are they going to stick with this box midfield? Are they going to be what they used to be? Did Jurgen just do that because the legs have fell off midfield? But if he gets his midfielders back, he's going to revert back to what he's always done. That's what does make it difficult, because the thing with Alexander-Arnold is he's in Liverpool's best team no matter what. It's just where you put him, and it's almost like you build the team around him. And there's been no clues either way really, as from what they're interested in midfielders and maybe a centre back. That doesn't really impact Trent Alexander-Arnold's position. He could be either or.
Yeah.
That's what there's been like no clear sign that's going to go right. And to be fair, City didn't do it. City didn't just telegraph that John Stones was going to be a midfielder. No. They just can't. Maybe they stumbled upon it. It just worked out. But sometimes you can just stumble upon things, and I do wonder, like through the madness of last season and what everything happened, that Liverpool having to change. They've realised that what Alexander-Arnold can do when he's in the middle of the park, and it's better than what he can do at right back with the ball. It might just be that they stumbled onto something, and that could change it. That could change plans. It could change a lot of different things.
It could, yeah. And again, it also proves that you know, when we make these sort of definitive judgments on players, players can still evolve and improve. I mean, I think if you'd have said probably 12 months ago, John Stones doesn't play for City at the end of this season, as in they're going to look to sell him, I think people would have said, yeah, I can see that, you know, that sort of moving towards, you know, he's been injury prone, or they've got Diaz now and they've got Laporte and they've got Ake, you know, but he's probably playing the best football of his career, isn't he? You know,
Bossing midfield in the Champions League final.
Yeah, and FA Cup final, you know, brilliant, you know. So when we sort of say, oh, well, no, you know, I've been guilty of it, to be fair. I've been asked, I think it's probably one of the questions non-transfer related that I've been asked the most probably in the last 3 or 4 years has been Trent in midfield, and I've always sort of been like, no, he plays right back, you know, like he's never played there before. Why would you suddenly start changing things that have been working? But when things weren't working, which they weren't, and everything was sort of not working, wasn't it? Never mind just Trent at right back, the whole midfield wasn't working, the forward line wasn't working, the centre backs weren't playing well, you know, only the goalkeeper really was doing his job. So they tried it, and like you say, it's worked. He's only 24. There's so much potential there, isn't there, that you get a player, you know, I'm not saying he could be quite De Bruyne, but, you know, if the ball was dropping in that area and you had either of those two running up to put the ball in for a cross or a shot, you could spin a coin almost over who you wanted to fall to, couldn't you? So there are definitely sort of possibilities for Liverpool in there. And I think the last, you know, I haven't been overly convinced by the last 10, 11 games of the season as a general Liverpool thing. But that is one of the things that's come out of it, in the sense of he looks like he's got some fire back in his belly. He looks like a smile back on his face, like you say. And he looks like someone who, whether Liverpool are up for it or not, it looks like he's determined to give them something to think about, if nothing else.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that clip from our Journo Inside Show. Neil Jones in fine form as ever. We spoke on the full show about Thuram, Eze, Carvalho and a little bit more as well. So yeah, if you want to check out the entire show, either in video or in podcast form, just simply head on over to redmenplus.com, sign up from as little as £5 a month, and you'll get that show twice a week throughout the transfer season, and then back to once a week when the footy's back, because we're covering the Reds again. So yeah, redmenplus.com, go and join us.
Hey, so the first episode of our 3-part Bobby Firmino documentary series, Bobby Firmino, Best in the World, is coming out this Friday, the 23rd of June. If you want to get immediate access to episode 2, as well as the full interviews for all of the incredible contributors, including Jordan Henderson, Adam Lallana, Ian Rush, and more, sign up today on redmenplus.com and fill your life with Bobby Firmino happiness this summer.